Aubrey O'Day has never been one to hold back, and now she's come forward with more receipts about Diddy that might just blow the lid off this whole mess. Y'all, it's getting wild because Aubrey is not only backing up her Danity Kane co-member Don Richard, but she's also alleging she was mistreated by Diddy too. This is not some half-hearted claim. Aubrey came armed with long receipts, and it looks like she's ready to expose everything. From the sound of it, this could land Diddy in serious trouble, and we're here for all the spicy details. So, let's rewind for a second. Don Richard recently filed an explosive lawsuit against Diddy, claiming he mistreated her and subjected the Danity Kane girls to what can only be described as torturous conditions. Dawn even said she witnessed Diddy lay hands on Cassie, among others. Well, now Aubrey is claiming she was also one of those women Diddy allegedly mistreated. And if you thought the tea Dawn spilled was hot, Aubrey's just might be nuclear. Now, Dawn's lawsuit really came out of nowhere. Most people thought she was still cool with Diddy. I mean, let's be real. We've all given Diddy the side eye when it comes to how he treats women, especially after Cassie's bombshell lawsuit. Cassie's claims opened the floodgates for other women to come forward. And so far, we've seen a handful of women accusing Diddy of some disturbing behavior going back decades. But Dawn? No one saw that coming. For one, she stuck with Diddy's label after Danity Kane broke up, and everyone assumed she was his favorite. She was part of Dirty Money and even appeared on Diddy's last album, Love, which he dropped just before Cassie's lawsuit hit the fan. Dawn has always been vocal about her loyalty to Diddy. She talked about how he bailed her out of a bad contract and that she would always have his back. In fact, she said in interviews that Diddy was her forever homie because of what he did for her.
Not as often as I'd like, but that's the homie forever.
She was basically singing his praises, saying people just wouldn't understand their relationship and how she was indebted to him for what he did. Puff bought me out of a bad contract before I even got on the show. So, of course, I was loyal. I gave him that loyalty, and I'll never forget what he did for me. She went so far as to say she didn't have any bad stories about him. Sure, things weren't perfect, but according to her, she made it out alive and with a business to boot. She claimed that was enough for her to remain loyal, and she didn't have the same horror stories that others had. But now, looking back, it seems like Dawn might have been dropping some subtle hints that things weren't all sunshine and roses. In those same interviews, she admitted that things weren't perfect, and she felt lucky to have escaped unscathed. It almost sounds like she was afraid to tell the whole truth, maybe because Diddy's reputation for making people disappear had her keeping her mouth shut. Remember, Cassie said Diddy once blew up Kid Cudi's car and bragged about it like it was nothing. So, honestly, can you blame Dawn for keeping quiet until she saw an opportunity to safely speak out? Well, the lawsuit she filed against Diddy laid it all out. Dawn backed up Cassie's claims, saying she witnessed Diddy physically abuse Cassie multiple times. According to Dawn, when she tried to step in and help Cassie, Diddy threatened her life. And these aren't just some vague claims. Dawn was explicit. The lawsuit detailed how Diddy would choke, punch, and throw objects at Cassie, even a scalding hot pan. Dawn tried to support Cassie and encourage her to leave him, but every time Diddy caught wind of it, he would allegedly lash out, telling Dawn things like, "You want to die today?" and bragging that he could make people disappear. It gets worse. Remember how Cassie mentioned that Diddy used to abuse her in public and no one ever stepped in? Well, Dawn confirmed that. She shared one incident where Diddy punched Cassie right in front of Neo and Usher, and these two didn't even flinch. They just kept eating like nothing happened. Dawn said this all went down during a dinner in West Hollywood, with several big names present. Diddy and Cassie got into an argument, and then, in a fit of rage, he punched her in the stomach, causing her to double over in pain. Despite this, the dinner guests, including Neo and Usher, acted like it was no big deal. Dawn didn't stop there. She also backed up claims made by others about how Diddy would have young, underage girls in the studio, using illegal substances while recording. The lawsuit described how Diddy would host parties with these barely dressed young girls, many of whom looked way too young to be there. It was a messed up scene, with people openly engaging in sex acts and drug use. Dawn described how Diddy and his crew would grope these girls and behave inappropriately while they were all recording music. As if that wasn't bad enough, Dawn revealed how Diddy mistreated the Danity Kane girls during the filming of Making the Band. According to her, Diddy deprived them of basic needs like food and sleep, forcing them to record and rehearse for days on end without breaks. If they ever dared ask for something to eat or a chance to rest, Diddy would insult them, calling them lazy and saying things like, "You bitches don't want this enough!" Dawn said he'd be high on drugs, staying up for days, and would force them to work non-stop during these benders. And when Dawn finally tried to stand up for herself, Diddy had one of his goons lock her in an unheated car in the middle of winter as punishment. The lawsuit detailed how Dawn was left terrified, trapped in that freezing car with no way to call for help, unsure if she would even make it out alive. Now, here's where Aubrey O'Day comes in. According to her, Dawn wasn't the only Danity Kane member to face this kind of treatment from Diddy. Aubrey was also a victim. If we're being real, we should have seen this coming. Anyone who watched Making the Band could tell that Diddy was out of control, but back then, reality TV was known for being messy and toxic, so no one thought much of it. Shows like America's Next Top Model were just as chaotic, so Diddy's antics on Making the Band didn't stand out as much. But looking back, the red flags were waving, and we were all too blind to see it. Aubrey was one of the few who tried to stand up to Diddy. She was stubborn and refused to let him walk all over her. This led to several clashes between the two. Aubrey wasn't about to let Diddy pressure her into being something she wasn't, and she made it clear. Turns out, the reason Aubrey and Diddy butted heads so much was because, allegedly, Diddy was trying to hook up with her. When she said no, Diddy started treating her and the other girls horribly, but because they were locked into tight NDAs, they couldn't speak out about it at the time. Even after Danity Kane broke up, Diddy still tried to keep control over the girls. Case in point, after Cassie filed her lawsuit, Diddy made a big deal about giving his former artists their masters back. He acted like he was just being generous, saying it was time to reform the industry and that he was doing the right thing. But what he didn't mention was that he made the artists sign NDAs before handing over those masters. These NDAs basically ensured that none of the artists could speak about what really went down during their time with Bad Boy Records. While some artists went along with it, Aubrey was not about to be silenced. She refused to sign Diddy's NDA, calling out the fact that in order to get her masters, she had to release Diddy from any claims of wrongdoing. She wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily, and her refusal to sign proves that she's done taking his nonsense. With both Dawn and Aubrey now coming forward with their stories, it's becoming clear that Diddy's empire is crumbling. This is just the beginning, and if these lawsuits continue to pile up, things are only going to get messier for him. What do y'all think? Is Diddy finally going to be held accountable for everything he's done? Or is he too powerful to fall? Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this and other celebrity news.